I don't find this stuff amusing anymore. You can call me out. Oh, I really messed up the do 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 do.
Well, hang on, you know DaniEllisVision?
So I wanted to create a little review in time for Christmas. Obviously, I did not make that deadline, so this is just going to be to reference at your leisure. I wanted to do a little side-by-side comparison of the Instax Mini 8 and the Instax Neo 90 Classic. They are two different cameras, but are super similar in terms of functionality and the final product, so I thought it would be interesting to put them up side by side because there is a pretty big price difference between the two. If you were trying to decide whether or not you would go for the higher end model or just the run-of-the-mill Instax camera, look no further because I am about to show you the major differences between the two cameras and then which one I would recommend. So I'm going to begin by doing a general overview of the two cameras, and then I'm going to move into film. They take the same film. I'm going to explain a little bit about it, and that's where I'm also going to show side-by-side comparisons of the same or similar photos that each camera took. And finally, I am going to tell you my recommendation as to which one I would buy if I were going to buy only one of them. So I'm going to begin with the Instax Mini 8. This camera probably looks super familiar to you because it still is pretty popular, but I think maybe 2014, 2013, it was its peak of popularity on the internet, and seemingly everybody had one of these. There's a wide variety of colors, which makes them super fun and personalizes them. You can also get a tons of different cases and stickers and skins, especially because this particular model is so common. There's going to be a wider variety of accessories than for the Neo 90 Classic. I think I got this in 2012. I was a freshman in high school, so I think that's when it was. I've always liked instant film. I've been collecting Polaroid cameras since I was in 8th grade. Also, this is not technically a Polaroid camera. It is instant film. Polaroid is a brand, although it's kind of become synonymous with instant film. So if you want to accurately label these, this is really instant film or instant photography. I don't really care when people say Polaroid camera because I know what they're talking about. This is not Polaroid brand, it's Fujifilm, but like I said, instant film has kind of become synonymous with the word Polaroid, so, you know, take with that what you will. I got this rainbow strap off Amazon. I don't think it comes with one in the packaging. I also don't have the original box. That might have been helpful. And I just find the shape is not particularly conducive to just carrying it around. I mean, maybe for some people. And even the wrist strap, I find to be cumbersome. It doesn't have the functionality that the strap does, that you can just hang it around your neck and don't have to worry about carrying it. The Instax Mini 8 runs on 2 AA batteries, so I don't know, pro or con. I don't know what's easier for you, lugging around actual batteries or a charger. That seems like a personal preference, but this runs on AA batteries as opposed to being charged in the wall or running on a lithium battery. Breaking down the general functions of the camera, to turn it on, there is a button up against the lens here that you press and the front will pop out. Turn it off, you just close this. Also, as you can see, this is very beat up. I put this camera through hell. By that I just mean bringing it everywhere, throwing it all over the place, never protecting it from the elements or anything. So, surprisingly, it stood up pretty well. So, actually, I guess that's a testament to the camera because it is pretty beat up, but it still is in working condition. When you open up the camera, you are going to have a toggle that gives you several options. This will determine what the flash setting is going to be at, which will affect the lighting of your photograph. There's a little home icon for indoor lighting, a cloud icon for overcast, a sunshine for sunshine, and a sunnier sunshine, and there's also high key. It will light up based on what the camera thinks the lighting setting should be at. So right now it's giving me home, but it's kind of going back and forth between home and overcast. I'm in front of such heavy studio lights that I guess I can't exactly decide what lighting is best. It's nice that it gives you the recommendation but doesn't necessarily force you to pick that. So if I was indoors but I wanted it to have less flash or more flash or what have you, I can change that for myself. It takes Fujifilm Instax Mini film which is the same as the Neo 90. The Instax Mini 8 at its cheapest will run you about $50, $49.95. That was the lowest price that I could find. When you are buying this, do a little bit of research. I'll go into where I recommend buying it at the end. There are places that are going to jack up the price immensely and totally rip you off. I mean, not rip you off because the product is fine, but you can get it for prices much cheaper, so I'll go into that in a minute. With that, I'm going to move on to the Instax Mini 90. The Mini 90 is similar cutesy shape, but as you can see, I think they're trying to make it look a lot more professional. The thing about Instax Mini cameras, even this one, and I'll go over why, but I would liken it to a toy camera. I think it's important for you to just get a general idea of what it is, and then if you like what it is, which is super saturated, blown out, white ass photos, then you should totally buy it. But if you are under the impression that this is going to give you crystal clear photographs with lots of intricate detail, you are dead wrong and you're going to be very disappointed. These are both very much so toy cameras, and the thing about the Instax Mini 8 is that it's giving you that look much more so. This looks like something that I could hand off to a toddler, and honestly they would have a pretty easy time navigating it. They're not going to give you high contrast photos. They're going to give you party favors, which I think this is marketed a lot more toward that than this is. And so I think where I love the look of this, it's a little deceiving. There are way more functions with this than the Instax 8. No denying that. To turn it on, instead of popping out the front, you have a little toggle here on the side, and that turns it on and off and also makes the lens go in and out. Unlike the Instax Mini 8, this runs on a lithium battery. I don't even know really what I think about that. Are you going to find it more difficult to keep track of a charger and to charge things before you go out, rather than you could always throw batteries in your bag and replace them as you go? Right, this is a personal preference, I would assume. Other than that, a big difference is there are two shutter buttons, which I don't understand. I don't find much of a benefit to. There's one on the front like there is on the Instax Mini 8, but there is also one on the side for landscape type photos. And I mean, I guess it's nice to have the choice, but I never had a problem with using the one button, so. Now, unlike the Instax Mini 8, this has actual features that you can change, so you have a lot more control of what type of image you're going to get. There are several different modes. We have party mode, second we have sports, or kids mode is what it's labeled as. We have landscape mode, we have double exposure, and we have bold. So now these are all fine and good. Party mode is for when there is, I think, probably dark lighting, and then, you know, kids or sports mode is going to, I think, just the shutter speed so that if things are moving more quickly, you're going to get a better image. But again, like I'm saying, none of these are super precise. These are good options, as if I was working with, I don't know, like a Barbie camera that I would get as a toy for Christmas of 2000. I say that because I was a kid in 2000. The options are helpful. They're going to change the overall photo, but they're not game changers to me. But maybe that's because I'm not so concerned with getting such a precise photo, because that's not what I use these cameras for. So as of right now, saying that these settings aren't super important to me, I'm putting these cameras kind of neck and neck. I have these other options, but I'm not super blown away. I'm not super impressed. These aren't going to change the way I photograph with this camera. However, I'm saving the best for last. There are even more settings, and I'll go through these and tell you why these, to me, completely changed the game. Had it not been for these settings, I would say buy this freaking camera because there's really not much of a difference. But these are what's really putting me over the edge for this one. There is a lighten and darken mode. Like I said, and will continue to say, these photos come out super blown out. White comes out as white, white, white. When I take a photograph of me, my skin is absolutely the color of paper. If I'm outside and it's super sunny, if I'm indoors and it's super dark, this is just going to give me a little more control over the lighting of the picture, and I think has the opportunity to completely change the way that you photograph with this camera. The next game-changing setting is that it has a timer mode. This is incredible. This camera, like I said, I'm just going to keep calling it a toy camera over and over again, is a toy camera. What do people want to do with a toy camera? play with it. I think a lot of people use this to take selfies. So why would you not have a timer mode? I found that to be very strange and a huge downfall of this camera. Really, all in all, this is just this camera improved times a million, right? That's why it's the same thing, just a different model. Self-timer is a huge selling point to me, and you can take pictures with you and your friends without having to stretch out your arm like this, because how far can you really take a selfie with a camera like this? And I think it's really limiting what you can do with it without having that option. And I saved my favorite for the very end. There is a flash option. This camera, the Mini 8, no matter what setting that you put it on, there is no way to completely turn off the flash. So no matter what, you are always going to have a bright light in your photo. And like I mentioned, with these super overexposed photographs, that can totally change the picture and make something indecipherable. The curves and lines and contrast of a human being can actually allow you to see shape and dimension like you wouldn't before. With the Neo 90, I am able to turn the flash on with red eye reduction, or completely turn the flash off. That to me is what makes this camera the much better bargain. So I wanted to talk about film for a second. I don't actually have an unopened film box right now, but they come protected like this, and you can peel it open and insert it into the camera. Both the Instax Mini 8 and the Neo 90 take the same exact film, which is super nice because if you're transitioning between models, you don't have to completely eradicate whatever film supply you might have in order to do that. I am going to show you some side-by-side comparison photographs. I ideally wanted to do this at high noon because I wanted to show what a difference it makes in intense lighting, having the option to lighten / darken photos and also turn the flash on and off, but I seemingly couldn't manage to wake up before the sun went down. No, not actually before the sun went down, but it's winter and I live in Wisconsin, so it gets dark at about 3 p.m. and I'm usually still in my pajamas around that time, so I didn't get to do exactly what I wanted. So this was around 4 or so. I took some photographs outside. The first one I took was of a light with a wreath around it, and as you can see, the photos look super similar. So similar that I wouldn't even necessarily put one above the other. I mean, if I had to pick, I would say that the Neo 90 did a better job. It just has better contrast to me, but they look really comparable and really similar. Now, here's where I really could see a huge difference. I'm getting the sky involved, and you can see where the Neo 90 is picking up cloud lighting, even though it's super distant. I'm picking up colors and I'm picking up light, and I'm picking up like an ombre effect. You know what I mean? Like you're actually seeing what similar to what you would see with the naked eye. Whereas this just looks like, to me, absolute trash. This is what I mean. These are the type of photos that you're gonna really end up with the majority of the time, especially if you're taking them outside. Also, like I said, this is going to be very different because it's winter. In the sunlight, I find is the best place to take these pictures because, like I said, when I do it inside with the flash on a black background, I become so pale white. It just looks absolutely ridiculous to me. But one, if you don't mind that, or if you don't care, or two, if you have a darker skin tone, these aren't going to be problems for you. And then here's a photo that I took inside my house. So they were both kind of on the indoor setting, and as you can see, the Neo 90 is just, yeah, doing a better job, but not so much so that I would say it's a much better camera. Like I said, what's really putting the two apart for me is self-timer, the flash mode, and I guess also if you wanted to use this for more specific things, the Neo 90, the double exposure mode could be super helpful. I've used it a few times, but I never had a ton of use for it, just because those weren't the type of photos I was taking. So my opinion's obvious at this point, that I'm giving it to the Neo 90 solely based on those few external features we're getting that we don't get with the Instax Mini. But like I'm saying, if you are like, oh, I know it's a toy camera, I know the pictures aren't going to look great, I want it for fun and I want it to play with, so I want it to be cheaper, then hell yeah, get this one. Because this, the Neo 90, is going to run you at its cheapest $99. So that's a $50 difference. Do you really want to pay twice as much for a few extra features, right? It's all up to you and what you're going to use the camera for. Another thing to consider is that this is an expensive hobby, if it's a hobby. Like, if you're listening to what I'm saying, you're like, yeah, it's a toy, I want this toy. It's an expensive toy. At your absolute cheapest, you are going to get 20 pictures for $14.99. That is close to $1 per picture. If you're fine with that, then hey, by all means, you're gonna have a wild time with this. But if you're like, I don't know if I really want to pay $80 for one stupid picture, well, then there you go. I don't know if this is for you. Now, there is another option that I didn't mention because I don't have it. One, there's the Instax Mini 9, which is like the Instax Mini 8, except a newer version. There is the Instax Mini 70, which will run you at its cheapest $85.95. So if you are having trouble choosing between these two, I guess that's a good middle ground, but it doesn't have a turn off flash mode, which, like I said, is essentially this little button is worth $50 to me. The other thing that I'm going to say is, regardless of if you decide to get the Neo 90 or if you decide to go with the Instax Mini 8, do not buy the camera or the film from Urban Outfitters. You can buy the Instax Mini 8 for $49.99 on bnh.com. Urban Outfitters is going to charge you $69 for the same exact camera. $20, you could have bought 20 pictures for that money. Exactly. I think Amazon is also similar to B&H, or just put it in your search engine and see what comes up. It's not too hard to tell the difference between numbers. Even Target does the same thing, jacks up the price. So do a little bit of research. I would suggest buying it online opposed to buying it in the store. Obviously, maybe that's less convenient for you, especially if it's going to be like a spur of the moment purchase, or you want to buy it as a gift for someone. Just buy it online. That's going to be my advice. Same thing with film. Do not buy film at Urban Outfitters because they are ripping you off, okay? B&H is selling 20 photographs for $14.99. Urban Outfitters is selling the same 20 blank photographs for, get this, $34. They've marked it up again, $20. So ultimately, my recommendation is going to be to get the Instax Mini 90. Between the two, I really like the Instax Wide 300, which I didn't include in this video. I could do a separate review of that if you are interested. Maybe I could have prefaced with this, I really don't like these pictures. They're credit card size, small little pictures, and I don't like them. I don't really find a lot of use for them. I think they're super tiny. The only times I use this camera is when I want to entertain other people. If I'm kind of gonna throw it out in the crowd and say, go nuts, friends. Finally, what there really is to consider is, what is your intended use for the camera? What is your price point for what you want this hobby to cost you, because it is expensive? And ultimately, how important are the extra features that come with the Neo 90? Are these features worth enough for you to pay twice as much money? I would say yes, but then again, if I just threw this. Then again, I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying either of these. But if you are going to buy one, I would recommend this one.
DaniEllisVision. What?